My older brother had been forging my signature to drain the college fund our late father left me, and I only found out when the financial aid office called asking why I'd voluntarily withdrawn $12,000 I'd never touched. I started detasseling corn the summer I turned 15. Brutal work, up at 4 a.m., soaked to the waist in dew, sunburned by noon. I did it 3 summers straight, plus weekend shifts at a garden center, because my dad had passed when I was 12 and left a modest college fund split between me and my brother Caleb, and I wanted to grow my half, not just spend it. Every check I earned, I put in. By the time I was 17, I'd built it up to almost $14,000. It was the proudest thing in my life. Caleb was 23 and still living at home, drifting between jobs he always quit or got fired from. At first, he'd ask to borrow small amounts, $40, $100, swearing he'd pay it back by Friday. Then the asking stopped. I just noticed my balance was lighter than it should be, and when I asked, he'd shrug and say I must have miscounted, that I spent more than I thought. Then that phone call came. The aid office, confused, telling me my account showed repeated withdrawals authorized by my signature. I drove home with my hands shaking on the wheel. Caleb was in the kitchen, drinking a protein shake from a tub of supplements that cost more than I made in a weekend. "Where's my money, Caleb?" He didn't even look up. "Things have been tight. I'll put it back." I said, 12 grand isn't tight. That's my whole future. He rolled his eyes and called me dramatic. So I started paying attention to what he actually spent it on. New sneakers, a gaming setup, bar tabs he bragged about. Meanwhile, he'd tell our mom we couldn't afford to fix my car, that I should just take the bus. It made me physically sick because every dollar of that came from me bleeding sweat in a cornfield before sunrise. When I confronted him again, he snapped. "Dad left that money to this family. I'm family. I've put up with you my whole life. Consider it rent." That was the moment I stopped arguing and started planning. On my lunch break the next day, I went to the bank where the fund was held. The teller pulled up the account, and her expression shifted as she scrolled. Withdrawal after withdrawal, all supposedly signed by me. She lowered her voice. "The trouble is, it's a custodial account, and your brother was named co-trustee by your father. Legally, while you're a minor, he has access." My throat tightened. "So he can just take it?" She shook her head slowly. "You turn 18 in a few weeks, don't you? At 18, the custodial role ends, and the remaining funds become solely yours. You can move whatever's left into an account only you control." I asked if I could do that the day I turned 18. She nodded like she'd seen this exact heartbreak before. I had about $2,000 left to protect. For 3 weeks, I acted completely normal. I went to work, ate dinner across from Caleb, said nothing. The morning of my 18th birthday, I skipped first period, walked into a credit union across town, and opened an account with only my name on it. Then I drove to the bank and transferred every remaining cent out of the custodial fund, leaving it at zero. I hid the new card inside my phone case and moved all the account emails off the shared family computer onto a private address. That night, Caleb actually had the nerve to ask me to spot him, $60. I said I was broke and went to my room before my face betrayed me. 2 days later, I was making eggs when his phone rang on speaker. I heard the automated balance line, then his voice climbing. "Zero? What do you mean the account's closed?" He spun around to face me. "What did you do?" I turned off the burner, set down the spatula, and slid a printed statement across the counter. "I turned 18. The fund's mine now. You can't touch it." He went from crying about how he'd always meant to pay it back to screaming that I was a selfish, ungrateful little brat. I kept my voice level. "Dad left that for both of us. You took my half. That's not borrowing, that's stealing." His face went purple. He had nothing. He grabbed his keys, slammed the door hard enough to rattle the windows, and the house went silent except for the eggs cooling on the stove. Now he's telling the whole family I robbed my own brother. I'm starting community college in the fall, paid for with what was left.